What's up everyone? In this issue of Motive Garage, we get our R32 GT-R teched to go drag racing. If you take your car to a racetrack, you're going to be racing under some type of governing body, and that's going to be tied into the insurance that the track has as well. Now that governing body, such as CAMS, FIA, NHRA, etc., are going to have certain regulations for the safety for you as a driver and for your car. And obviously, as things get faster and more dangerous, the amount of safety equipment that you need goes up. Now, at a basic track day, such as a super sprint or a Wednesday night race for real at Sydney Dragway, just requires the car to be mechanically sound. Some events you need a fire extinguisher, and you just need long pants, shoes, long shirt, and a helmet. Now, as the racing gets more serious, what you need, well, you need more of it. Things such as tarmac rallies and door-to-door racing, you need extensive roll cages and much more safety gear. The driver needs a Hans device, you need a proper approved suit, gloves, helmet, etc. Why? Well, you're way more likely to crash, and the crash is likely to be much bigger in that type of racing. Now, the same goes for drag racing. As soon as you go under a certain ET and over a certain mile an hour, the risk just goes up, and they mandate that you need safety equipment. Now, we race under IHRA at Sydney Dragway, and they state that a modern street car with airbag and ABS can go 10.0 at 140 mile an hour, and other cars can go 10.50 at 140 mile an hour before safety equipment is required. Now, obviously, if you race at a different track under a different governing body, it may be totally different, or you could be in another country where it's totally different again. We can only go by what our car needs to go racing under IHRA. Now, some people don't want to get their car teched because they don't want to add a cage, it's a street car, they don't want to talk about weight and price, etc., and they just go to the track and do one big Hail Mary run. Now, we're not going to support that attitude, even though we've probably done it before. And the reason being is you do that one run, you get booted, and on the drive home, you always say to yourself, man, if I had one more run, I could have done this, and I could have done that, and a better 60, and all that guessing of what you could have done, but you never get the chance. We want to be able to go to the drag strip, run the car back to back, do setup changes, and make the car quicker and show you guys how to do it. And the only way that can happen is if the car is teched. So, first up, we're going to speak with Tim NIELSEN, who's an IHRA tech inspector, and then we're going to go visit the guys at Motorsport Connections to get our safety gear, and then we're going to put it all in, and we're going to get racing again. Let's go.
Hi, I'm Tim NIELSEN, National Technical Director for IHRA Australia. I've been involved in the technical side of drag racing for over 20 years. Firstly, if they want some more information, they can go directly to the IHRA website, and we also have an app with all the rules and regulations on it, and that's on an Apple device and an Android device. To contact technical people, we have a range of technical inspectors throughout Australia, right, mainly in New South Wales and in Queensland. All their contact details are on our website. Okay, once you've gone under 10 seconds for a modern car with airbags and four-wheel disc brakes, you're going to need a roll cage. 140 mile an hour is the magic number. Once your car exceeds 140 mile an hour, your vehicle will require a parachute. Say underneath the car, like a transmission or a gearbox, you're going to need shields, right? For a manual box, you're going to need a shield around the bell housing, and for an automatic box, you're going to need like a trans shield or blanket. Yeah, there's a tail shaft loop which is within 6 inches of the front uni, and that's purely there to stop the tail shaft from hitting the ground and catapulting the car. Okay, we've got an isolation switch, which is external on all vehicles, right, and that is purely if there is an incident or an accident, right, the track crew can come and switch off your car. The equipment inside the car, right, you're going to need a one-piece seat once you go quicker than 10 seconds, right, that's a must. Then you're going to need a 5-point harness with a crutch strap. You're going to need arm restraints, which attach to your arm and to the top of the belts, or a window net. Okay, if you're coming from like a Wednesday night street meet, you're only, you know, you can wear long sleeve shirt and tracky pants and covered footwear. Once you start going quicker than 10s, you've got to get a full race suit, right? And you require an SFI style suit or an FIA style suit. You're going to need approved racing gloves, approved racing boots, and an approved racing helmet. Again, all these items are listed on the website and in the rule app. I think what we've got to get to is that we're issuing the rules for safety, right? IHRA Australia is all about safety and keeping you, the driver, safe on the track. I think first and foremost, they should come and talk to us. Like, we're not going to turn you away. It's our job to make sure that you are safe and you enjoy your racing.
Motorsport Connections was basically started 18 years ago. We now have 3 locations. We have a Sydney-based shop, we have our Melbourne shop, and we have our sister company in Auckland, New Zealand. Primarily, the product started with Speedflow, an Australian-made product. We distribute their product around Australia and also into New Zealand. Also wholesale, trade and retail, multiple range of different products. We now carry BMRS, Brown & Miller Racing Solutions, and XRP. So 3 primary #1 brands in hose and fittings. Again, we wanted to focus on being able to supply into the V8 supercar market, into the speedway market, drag racing, circuit, marine, time attack, the whole 9 yards. So we cover every single product within those 3 brands of plumbing, and then from there it's grown out from oil coolers, oil, Aeroflex silicone hose, and the range has just grown and grown and grown. And we now occupy 3 buildings out of our Sydney location, and we carry over 7,500 individual product lines. All our 3 locations, you can actually come to the counter with a hose if you want a hose made, and actually we'll build it on site for you. You can also use our interactive website, which actually has custom hose lengths that you can actually order online, and you can order over the phone as well. 2 years ago, in 2015, I was actually driving an alcohol funny car for a team called Sainty Family Racing. The day didn't go quite as planned, and due to a fire and me not being able to breathe, I decided to jump out of that vehicle at fairly high speed, which wasn't too big a deal, but then getting caught in the parachutes and actually dragged through the finish line, broke my neck and ended up with some fairly horrific injuries. During the hospital stay, God's honest truth, I was in there researching what could have been better, what could have been done better. Again, we are very big on learning from experiences and then trying to reiterate it to racers so that they don't go through those same misfortunate incidents. The AC Dalco Monaro is probably one of the wildest cars you could possibly drive. It's 3,500 horsepower. It runs at the pointy end of the field. It's a fantastic opportunity to drive. Great deal, and again, it just gets us back out there with races and mixing it up with those guys, which is really cool. We are very, very passionate about stocking premium products from premium reputable suppliers, so those products and those companies know that they're getting the right guys selling their product and giving the right advice, which is really, really important. Understanding that you're dealing with a guy that knows the tech inspectors, knows the classes, knows how that gear should fit, which is really, really important. If you've got a poorly fitted helmet, or your harness device isn't installed correctly, or you're in the wrong gear full stop, in the event, when the poo hits the fan, you're going to end up pretty bad. And let's face it, we want to try and be as safe as we possibly can. So fire suit, boots, gloves, harness, seats, all that componentry. Again, just a matter of coming into the shop, putting the gear on. We can sit you in a seat, we can get you set up, we can liaise with the fabricators that are actually going to do the seat installation to figure out, do they need rails, do they need sliders, is it going to be a fixed seat, is the harness going to be wraparound, is it going to be Bolton? We'll actually ask you, is it a roll cage like a funny car cage? Do you need wraparound on the harness? Does it need to be Bolton? Are you trying to retain factory original mounts? And we'll actually build that harness for you to fit your exact application. Yeah, so we were really, really proud and privileged to be part of the Motiv GT-R build. Motorsport Connections supplied seat, parachute, isolator switch, and some other componentry to basically get that car from a street-driven vehicle to a race car. I am only here today, God's honest truth, because of my harness device, my helmet. I was wearing a Dash 25 suit with underwear, additional protection. But man, you are absolutely stupid if you do not check what gear you should be wearing from some other professional that can give you the right advice. It really, really is important. We're here to help. We want to keep you safe. And more importantly, we want you out next weekend to come racing with us. And that's what it's all about.
Motorsport Connections provided us with a Velo one-piece race seat, DJ Safety 5-point harness, and the matching DJ Safety arm restraints. We also picked up a DJ Safety parachute and an isolator. Because we already race, we didn't need to buy a new helmet, and the harness device, gloves, race suit and shoes, and they also comply with IHRA regulations, so we didn't need any new race clothing. With all the gear in place, we sent the car to JT Performance so our good friend Chris Spicer could do the hard part, fit a roll cage and parachute. We decided to go for a weld-in cage, as you have to drill holes and weld plates for a bolt-in cage anyway. So why not make it as safe as can be and weld it all in? We also went for weld inside intrusion bars as well, as we have no problem getting in and out of the car. Chris made the cage very tight in the front, so you can barely tell the car has a cage at all at first glance. And it allows for plenty of headroom and space for the occupants. In the back, it allows for fitment of the back seat, so it all looks very neat. Notice there is a build plate for the cage, and we had the cage pre-teched while the interior was out. Overall, the cage is a great fit, doesn't intrude on being able to drive the car, and has awesome finish. The parachute lever is also easily removable, as it's quite obtrusive when driving on the street. In the boot, Chris welded a cross support beam between the chassis rails and joined it to the roll cage. This means when the chute is deployed, it transfers the force through the entire car and adds extra strength. We put the parachute mount behind the number plate, which flips up so no one is the wiser when it's in street mode. With the cage done, the next step was to put it all back together. We also installed a battery isolator in the engine bay with a cable that pops out at the back of the bonnet so the car can be easily turned off externally in an emergency. Probably the hardest part of getting the car teched was getting a scatter shield made. Auto cars, you just have to buy a pre-made blanket to go around the transmission, but manual cars need a scatter shield which goes around the bell housing and stops the flywheel from causing further damage to the car if it comes loose or explodes. A scatter shield is difficult to make in a GT-R, as it needs to fit around the front shaft as well as the slave cylinder, and there is limited room in the tunnel as it's such a bulky gearbox. You can see just how much work Chris had to put into the scatter shield to make it fit and work correctly. Well, there you have it. Our car is now teched and we can go drag racing again. Now, I know you're all wondering, what about the price? Well, it does vary based on A, what contacts you've got, B, what you can do yourself, and C, what type of work you want done. You could spend a minimum of $5,000 getting your car teched, or upwards of $10,000. Now, a roll cage like ours, very tight to the roofline, very well done, has a removable parachute through the number plate, a removable parachute release. You expect to spend probably $6,000 to get that sort of work. Now, another big variable is what seat you use, and also whether you need to get a scatter shield custom made, or you can get one off the shelf, or you've got an auto gearbox and you can just put the blanket around it. So expect to spend a minimum of $5 grand or potentially upwards of $10,000. Now, I know it's expensive, but can you really put a price on your life and your safety?